the last couple of months I've received a lot of emails asking to do more wood arrow and self bow type videos for informational purposes. So I'm getting ready, kind of starting to put things together for this fall's hunting season, and I'm working on some Port Orford cedar arrows here. These are just bare shafts. I think I'll pick these up at Three Rivers. There are a lot of good places to get them, but I'll shoot a full length arrow. These are 32 inches, so I'm going to shoot them out of about a 50-pound bow. So in order to shoot them out of a 50-pound bow, I need to get a higher sponge. So these are 60-65. So the first thing I do when I get new shafts is straighten them right off the bat. It's the first thing. In order to do that, I get a really flat table. For me, this kitchen table works great. That way you can see if they're flat or not. You just roll them. What you're looking for, and I'll adjust the camera so you can see what I'm looking for in a minute, is get my seat back so that I can look, and I'm looking for the hump in there where the arrow's touching the table here and here, anywhere, and then I can see light underneath it. So then I roll to where that light's at, and what that shows me is I use, this is the Ace tool for straightening arrows. You could use a screwdriver, antler horn, or anything like that. I like this because it's got the rounded edge, and I don't seem to put too much pressure in a flat spot. It seems to work better to keep round on the shaft. So I roll that arrow to that light's under there. There it is right there, and then I just hold it, and then I just apply pressure. You don't have to apply pressure too much to begin with. But, I think this will work. You can see the hump. This one's got a pretty good little hump in it right there. I think you can see it's almost hard to even roll it over because it's so big. See that big old hump right there? You can see it hopping up. So what we're going to do is reduce that hump. Get an arrow right there so you can see the light under there. I'm just looking for that light. Take the tool, keep the hump up. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stain them. I'm going to use a walnut. I like my hunting arrows to be a little darker. You can do whatever you want to with them, but if you want to stain them, you need to stain them now. And I just have a string here with some clothespins, and I hang them and let them dry there. It doesn't take too long. This mini wax is pretty good stuff, and I use just a kind of a wipe-on claw or brush for most of the stuff, but this is almost like a paste. So for the paste, you have to use a rag and just start getting it all over the shaft. Good there. You can go as light or dark as you want. I use gasket lacquer a lot to seal them, but with these arrows I'm not. I'm going to use a wipe-on poly that I've used a few times, but not that much. But you can get them as dark or as light as you want them. You could crest them or cap dip them, whatever you want to do, however elaborate or as much time as you want to put into them. For a hunting arrow, I just like it to be functional. I want it to look nice, but I want it to be a little bit darker. I like to be able to see my arrow. I don't want it too dark because I'm a gap shooter. When I hunt, I want to be able to see the arrow, and the darker it is, the harder in low light conditions it is to see. Okay, the next thing I do is just take a piece of steel wool. I want that wipe-on poly to adhere good. And you don't want to take your stain off, but just rub down your shaft there and kind of scuff it up a little bit so that it will, that wipe-on poly will get down into the pores of it. Some of these are kind of, the finish on them is pretty slick, and it's not as easy to adhere to them. So steel wool will fix that for you. Okay, a lot of different ways to put this wipe-on poly on as well. I just, again, like to put it in a rag. I'm just going to run a good coat over it there. Put a few different coats on it to make sure that it's sealed good. Last thing you want is to be out on the deer stand and a drizzling rain start, and the next thing you know, you got waterlogged arrows. And make sure they're sealed good. And now what I'll do here is just hold that. You want a good even finish, so just hold that and then go straight down. Try to make sure that you want to get the string lined up going through the grain though, and that you're glued all the way around. So there's, I can see the growth grain there, and can confirm it down here when you look through them. So that looks good. You want to make sure it's nice and straight. And then let those dry. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Blackie Schwartz at Top Hat Archery gave me some points to try. And these points, you don't have to taper the end. They go right over the top and they screw on. And he has a little tool here that you put right over the edge. You want to keep it down on the end so you don't mess it up, but you just screw these arrows on. If it doesn't fit, there's another little tool here that you put on a drill that will size it down a little bit, so that all you want is, once you get that arrow over the top, is then it'll start screwing in and you don't have a problem with it from there. But if it doesn't, you can kind of resize it. These are 125 grain points. And he's got something really cool here that I'm excited to try out. So those are screw-on points. Really nice look to it. He has these fittings that go on the same way. These little fittings, you just screw them on the same way. It's 30 grains, but it's got a receiver for a screw-in broadhead. So if you don't have a glue-on, or you don't want to use a glue-on, you can put this on there and then put a 100 grain head. You got 130 grains or whatever you want, but it screws right in. It's just an adapter for a wood arrow, so that you can use a screw-on broadhead. Pretty cool little deal. So again, let's get a little closer here. You just don't have to taper your arrow. Put it right over the end. Once you get the arrow going in, then you just screw it down. And it forces thread really into, whoop, I'm not getting on there enough. This one I may have to size with that tool. No, there it went. It really grabbed it then. Now, what I'm interested in is, are they exactly down to the same point? This one needs to go a little further. I want to make sure, obviously, that the arrows are the same length, so if you don't screw them down the same, there we go. Okay, I use a Bitburger. I use 3 fletches, 3 fletch on my arrows. Let's see, what do we want to use? We got some red that match those, so may as well use that. I always put mine down. You can put them right at the end. I have a mark on mine here that gives me some separation, just because of the way these are 5-inch feathers, True Flights. And then I use Bob Smith Industries MaxiCure. I love this glue. It's the best glue that I've ever used for fletching arrows, and I'll never go back. We just put just a tiny bead of glue right down the quill. And then for me, put it down there, and then for me what I do is I take a razor blade and then I go down the quill and just make sure that it's snug down The Bitzenberger is usually pretty good, but depending on the feather and how you seated it before you pushed it down, it may or may not be perfectly snug. And 10-15 minutes max is all you need with this glue. Really works nicely. These are, as I said, 5-inch shield right wing. I use right wing, it doesn't really matter. We'll let that sit there, rotate it around, and fletch them up and get to shooting them. Well, I think we're ready to go do a little shooting. That's the third feather on the third arrow. So I've got just some 5-inch feathers there. I just used those. I don't really love shooting that big a feather, but I have had a pack of 100 and a bunch of them left, so I did. And I got the Snap-on Nocks. I like the Snap-on Nocks. And then again, the Top Hat screw-on points that I'm trying for the first time. I get asked about my targets. These targets a lot on the internet. Folks will ask me what kind of targets they are. They're the blob targets. The guy used to come a lot over to Twin Oaks, but they're actually, I like them a lot. And one of the reasons that I really like them is that they're really easy on arrows. Like shooting these wooden arrows in these targets, they're real soft. And they're easy to pull, and they don't damage your arrows in any way. They're really soft and gentle. They last forever, and I just put these spot targets all over them. And you see, you got to be careful. I shot some indoor rounds in the same spot. I shot that out. Keep my string up there so I can tell my left to right, make sure I'm tuning arrows good and stuff like that. But you know, I like them. They're really, you can keep spinning them around. I've had these. Actually, this one was at Twin Oaks for probably maybe 10 years. And then I brought it here when we bought new ones, and they hold up really well. Well, let's see if we can't put a few in that black dot. Let's pull it back here to 20 yards and see how they shoot. I haven't shot my hunting bows in this much weight in quite a while. Hopefully I can control it. But, I don't shoot anything. I don't shoot anything deer-wise over 20 yards. Very, very rarely. So I try to set everything up at 20 and in where I can, I'm happy with the flight. Pretty good wind with these big feathers. I may get a little bit of weather vaning going on, but see how they go. Just under it, but pretty straight there. Oh yeah, good one. Flying good. Thrilled with that. We shot good out of this bow. See if I can't zoom in there and kind of let you see. Not bad. First three right off the shelf. Right in there. And so that's how I do it. As I've said in the video previously, there are certainly ways to make prettier arrows. There are certainly other techniques to use when making them. But a lot of folks had asked, hey, can you just do a how-to on how you set your wooden arrows up for hunting? And that's it. Nothing special, nothing fancy. The key is a good straight arrow. Spend your time making sure they're straight. Make sure that they're matched. Make sure that the length's good, that the weight is good on them, that they're within about 10 grains of each other. And with these, you know, those Top Hat points, I'm really happy with those. I like those points. I like not having to taper the point in, just screw them on there. I'm probably going to take these, and those 125 grain points clearly flew well on them, so I'm going to unscrew those for hunting season, screw on that adapter and put a 100 grain point. That'll give me 130 grains up front with a 100 grain point, and then that 30 grain adapter. That'll be very close to this. I'm confident they'll fly well. So try out those Top Hat products. Give them a look. I'm pleased with them, and I think you will be too. Best of luck to you in the 2013 hunting season.